Okay, I promised you yesterday's video number 4, today's number 5 of the 90-day challenge, and I'm going to do some landscaping today. I'm not going to physically take you to do all the work that I would do in a normal Saturday, and I don't do it every Saturday, but I'm going to show you the tree we talked about last night from different perspectives, the tools that I keep on hand, pretty much all of them, and a couple of spots, especially where we took the lawn out and how we drastically changed what that looks like. First of all, you can see I'm wearing a lot of clothes for a hot sunny day. And even when it's 106 or more outside, I have a hat, I have a t-shirt and a heavy denim shirt, long pants, socks, working shoes on. Because I've watched all the landscape people who do it for a living around here over 8 years, and they all are pretty heavily clothed, and it provides a very important thing in the Valley of the Sun. Evaporative cooling, if you will. I'm going to perspire like crazy for most of the afternoon. It's not going to show through on this shirt too much, but my other shirt will, and it will keep a layer of moisture there that will cool me off a lot faster than if I had short sleeves on and shorts. Because also, I'm going to be dealing mostly with cacti, so I want to be protected because those buggers hurt if you hit them the wrong way. And so we're going to go into that, and the video will go off and on while I'm taking this, and I'm going to do my best to edit it together. All right, let's move on. Okay, here's the ficus tree we looked at last night. I was standing in front of that. You probably got almost this view of the underneath. For instance, this is the driveway side. I'm going to come up close. It's a pretty big ficus tree. I'm going to say 20 feet high, maybe 15. We lost a third of it the last frost last year, but it grows fairly quickly. It hasn't regained full, but here we go. We're getting a look at the under branches that this tree has and how I've removed the foliage. Now I'm going to walk away from the house towards the entrance to our subdivision and give you a different look. Okay, I'm in the middle of the road as I might come in and take a left-hand turn and drive towards my home, and you can see that big ficus tree there. And you can see the undercarriage. Maybe I stay here and zoom it in a little bit. I guess I have to walk it. My zoom control doesn't seem to be working. But you can see it gives a really nice, actually stunning effect to that tree. You can see the size of it. Again, we lost a third of it, and if I turn a little bit this way, you can see we have a yellow flowering oleander standard. What a standard means is that a tree that does not normally grow with branches and no stems at the bottom has had them removed, and it looks like it's got a totem pole there and then a big canopy on top. That's called a standard. Sorry for that motorcycle there, but that older guy just seems to want to always make it really loud going past the homes in this roadway. In any event, you can see bougainvillea in the back there, and you can take a lot of different plants that are not normally upright growing, for instance hanging plants, and make them into a standard. You need to stake it first until the trunk gets thick enough to hold itself. But you see them frequently at the nurseries and garden centers and Home Depot and Lowe's, so not a problem. Okay, let's move on to another spot. Alright, here we are in the driveway, and I've laid out just about all the tools I will use around here. If I need anything else, I'm going to hire it done. But this is how I get my exercise, and quite frankly, it's as good as going to a gym and pumping iron, because over the course of a summer, I get pretty well developed in the arms and upper torso. I use the pool to maintain that, and for the lower part as well. But in any event, I got a watering wand here, you can see, with a sprinkler head on the end of it to soften the impact so I don't break plants or break things or to disrupt the soil too much. I got a pickaxe, brought that from Maine, and the clay soil here is so hard. That came in handy to get some holes started so I could flood them with water. Here's a pearl of wisdom for you. Don't try to dig a hole in dry ground in Arizona too much, unless you're up in the high grounds where it's a whole different ground. But down here, it's so baked and hard, you use the pickaxe or a shovel, and you dig a hole, small, shallow one is enough, and you keep it flooded for a few days, and just like the rain does, that'll soften the ground really well, and you can get the hole dug that you need. If you're going to put a much bigger plant in, have the nursery do it. They'll bring a big machinery or piece of equipment, and they'll have no problem doing it. Any event, I got a regular spade, a narrow spade, which is really handy when you're in tight quarters, and I got a flat edge shovel which I used to remove the lawn in the area where I'm going to show you at the end of this video. I also use this square shovel. I have a big wheelbarrow out back that's tires flat. I don't care. I don't use it to move stuff around, but I use it to put soil into and then blend it and keep it turned over, especially because I like to use soil slightly dampened. So you add some water, mix it around for the dry stuff, and it all absorbs it and it becomes dampened. I use that shovel a lot for this. Okay, some loppers, orange ones, by Fiska. My pruning shears here. Gotta have leather gloves if you're gonna deal in the desert. Even these pygmy date palms are pretty sharp when they near the trunk. Those spines that stick out don't bend. So leather gloves, and of course a really in-depth saw, probably a tree saw or a limb saw. I use that for the huge date palm, regular date palm that was probably 4 feet tall when we moved here, but now it's like 30. And to cut off the lower branches to give that trunk look. I'm not making a pineapple out of it because it's not that variety. Any event, these are the tools I use. Okay, I want to get down and show you this 8-inch pot with these two plants in it, cacti. This is called Ceres peruviens monstrose minor. And I moved here from Maine in 2005 with 6 pots like this. They were a little bit smaller pot and the plant was a little bit taller. And I could never get them to grow much bigger in Maine because there aren't that many sunny days of intensity. There are sunny days even in the winter, but it's so low intensity, and also it's only 2-dimensional light coming in your house from a window. It's not 360 all over it and all around it. And of course the temperature never gets hot like here. In any event, but I planted it into the ground here in 05, and as I get up from scooching, you can see it has become, I'm going to be in the shade here now, quite the plant. In fact, I've cut it back 4 times because there's a bunch of clumps around the house of this one now, and this one plant, I put 2 pots here. I did put a couple in the backyard, so I didn't use all 6 here. I just used 2, but you can see it's quite the plant. And you're going to see where I cut it. You can see right there. Okay, it's slant cut. Another one there, and you can see it's grown up around it because that's what will happen. Here's some really great flower buds. These things put out about 6-inch dinner plate, white flowers with a nice yellow center. Again, cut there, always facing the cuts, for the most part, away from my property. I don't care if the other side sees them. But eventually it grows up around it, and this plant right here is getting very tall, almost to the underneath of the ficus tree. And so I'm going to cut that one off, but that one's grown up from a cut that was right there. And now I have these 2 ones. This one right here will take the place, and this one will go away. I'm going to cut it off, and we can make a new plant out of that one. The beauty of cacti is any place on its body is a place of rooting. On foliage plants, that's not the case. Wherever 2 branches come together is a node, and that is the rooting place on foliage or herbaceous, soft plants. Cacti, any place. They're amazing plants. Here's a couple more different variety. This is out front. Another one here just full of flowers coming onto it. And what they call elephant's food right there on the ground. I made that from cuttings ripped off the plant, not ripped off, cut off, better to cut off the plant I have out back that's cascading maybe 4 feet into the pool. Here's the pygmy date palm that I want to show you. At the base of the frond here, you can see those needles, and they're really sharp. Leather gloves, folks, leather gloves. Okay, I got to turn this way because the sun's on the backside. Okay, we're going to do one more stop. I'm going to imagine this video now is pretty long. And we'll continue a little bit more of landscaping, maybe, at another time, because I think there's some lessons to be learned here. First, we learned what tools to have. We learned what to wear so that you don't cook and sunburn and actually get uncomfortable. We learned on the Ceres peruviens monstrose minor how to cut cacti so that they are pleasing to your yard and you keep them under control. Otherwise, they'll get massive. And this plant's, the last one I showed you is under the ficus tree, so I can't let it get massive. All right? So now we're going to do the one spot that I told you out front of the house. I'm going to give you a good panoramic of the house, and then we're going to go to that spot that used to be lawn I left the sprinkler heads in there, so I pop it on and it's like mist, as most lawn watering sets are, as opposed to drip for the foliage plants. And that's how I water that spot every 30 to 45 days in the summertime, never in the winter, and you'll see why. So let me turn the camera around off of me, and here we have again a good panorama of the front of our home here in Surprise, Arizona. Okay, and this is the garage. Side load was one of my requirements. I don't like the main curb appeal of my house being the garage door. That's just me. It seems to be the standard. Okay, so we're moving around another. You can see the house came with a lot of these pygmy date palms. I did not put those in. But here we go. This is one of our pride and joys. As you can see, it's what people see mostly. And there used to be lawn inside the curbing here that you can see, and as you can see now, there isn't. That flat spade shovel with a flat edge is what I used almost on a horizontal to dig up the grass. I didn't dig down. I got it wet so the ground would be softer, and I went into it first and then maybe down 3 inches and then just sliced along the surface and removed that lawn. It took a lot of work, actually, a couple of weekends because it was a hard job. But all these plants, except for that one right there, and I'll tell you about that one later, not today, but all these plants were cuttings off others, every single one of them, including the beautiful blue agave in the background. Used to be one right there, but the beetles got to it this year. First year in all 8.5 years, the beetles took away some agaves. A really big one like this agave, this green one, we lost out back. I mean, it was double, triple this size here. But we seem to have got them at bay. In any event, this is what we did out front. These plants that are columnar or tall-like are called Argentine giants, and there's 2 species in here. One puts out a 6 to 8 inch dinner plate white flower, and the other one is even more spectacular. It's I won't call it pink, mauve maybe, but it's an amazing flower, and they put out them in abundance. Only lasts a day or two in the sun here for sure. Okay, this is the front yard, another elephant food plant there from cuttings, and this is what we did. No one's going to break in through our garage window there because it'll hurt you to move those agaves. They just don't bend. The spines don't bend. They really don't. Another pygmy date palm. You can see all the cuttings that I took off of the Cereus peruvians monstrose minor that I have them periodically all around the place here. This is one of my favorite agaves. It's a twin, actually. 2 plants started growing together, and I left it that way. But it's a really lighter blue. Got a much bigger one out back. And so we call this Tiger Jaws. Let me find it here. Right there. That's called Tiger Jaws. You can see the little jaw looking on it. And I got that as a little 2-inch plant at Home Depot, I think. And it gets shady in this area after the sun goes away a little bit later on. And it's going to be fun. All right, another green agave. That was the other one I showed you. You can see a spider there has been at work last night. And this one is going to have the lower branches, or I don't think they call branches, leaves actually. I'm going to have them trimmed off today, but I'm not going to have you watch me do that because that takes a while and you got to be really careful because you can see these spines, these thorns, they don't give. They hurt you. And you can see the tip of the agaves are pretty sharp all by themselves. We're going to take off in another class, another video, this prickly pear with the real big spines. That's the flat ones over there. These are of the Opuntia genus. We're going to trim this down because it's getting too tall for the area. It's got to be less hard in the back. And I'm going to show you how to do that another time. Well, I appreciate you watching this video. Let me get my hand extended. And I hope you learned some things here. Cacti don't get watered in the wintertime because they should be dormant. If it rains, that's okay. And it does sometime in February or January. But in the summertime, if you want them to grow like I have them, fast, you want to water them. Every plant needs water. They'll survive without it. And here's another wisdom. Don't water plants, the cacti. Don't get the leaves wet or the stems wet. Don't get the stems wet when the sun's on them because each little bead of water acts like a magnifying glass and it will cause a disfigurement mark on the plant. Always water just the soil. I'm going to be watering everything in pots today. Throughout the summer they get watered every week. In the middle of the summer, they get watered twice a week because there's not a lot of soil there and they don't have the ground to depend on for coolness. All right, thanks for watching this video. I appreciate your time. Video challenge. I'm enjoying it, having fun, sharing what I've learned over the years of owning a plant business back in Maine. Ciao.